Hello and welcome into another episode of Reality Check here on the channel. What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary. I'm joined as always by my good friend Jeremy Jets Chaos. Jeremy, how goes it, my friend?
It goes. Here we are, man. Another week removed from your wedding. It still feels like so surreal, but yeah, no, things are good, man. Halloween, Thanksgiving gone, Halloween gone. Now it's the big ones coming up, the big boys, and we got a couple of real weeks, and then it's time for the craziness to start.
Absolutely. So a few more weeks of that. Haven't spoken since the most recent Jets win. So kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that quickly before we hit on some of our big talking points of the week.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so 27-24 win, long field goal at the end. I was expecting you to come in with a take on the game. I didn't know you need me to tee you up
You
again.
want to take? It's interesting. I'm so torn and conflicted at this point of a season. You know, it was like I can't root against the team because when I'm watching the team, I want to see them do well because I want to see some of these guys are going to be around, obviously, and part of the future and any chance we ever have of ending this nightmare, right? So you want to see some good players like, oh, these guys are going to be part of the Jets. And if we have a chance, maybe. I mean, I'd rather have 8 good players on the roster than 0 going into next year, and all these draft picks. But then when they actually win, it's like it's not obviously there's like this torn. Okay, how many spots in the draft did we just fall back? And I know most people are on one side very extreme or the other. You're not a fan if you're rooting to lose. We should try to win every game, and every game is critically important to win and very, very impactful to the future. And then you have the other extreme saying there's absolutely no value to winning, 0. It's only bad, and the only thing that matters is getting the highest draft pick. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint the world, but I am just not on either extreme. I'm torn. I'm a conflicted fan.
Yeah, I think you can make a strong case for either one of those sides. And my reaction to the Jets win is we want to see the coaching staff improve and we want to see this team improve as the year goes on. And I don't think it's, as easy to go into next year and say, okay, we got the number 2 pick in the draft and now everything's going to be fine. The light switch goes on and they figured out how to close out games in the fourth quarter and the coaching staff took a positive step in the right direction in an off season. Like I think for a young team, which the Jets are, they're one of the younger rosters in the NFL, and with a young head coach who's going to be here, it's not like he's a lame duck and going to get fired at the end of the year. He's going to be here next year. These wins are important for him figuring things out and building this, new culture here.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I think that it matters to see. It matters to just you have a new coaching staff. If they just would have went 1-16, the players have to buy in, right? I mean, it's like that because you have to realize the players are playing with all their heart to win. The team wants to win. The team is playing to win. Every team in football, they're playing to win, right? You wouldn't want any player in your team that wasn't playing to win. They're playing to win, right? We as fans might be rooting for them to lose, but they're playing to win. So knowing that they're playing to win and saying it doesn't matter if they win or lose all their games doesn't make sense to me because you don't think it affects your psychology if you're losing every single week. Then you go into next season and the only thing you know is losing with this team. And the only thing we know the coach has done is lose. And it doesn't help at all maybe to say, well, at the end of the year, we started to win some games and we started to come together and we started to improve and we could build on that. Like, I mean, entitled to your opinion, if you want to say that is meaningless and means nothing. See, the problem I have is that I live both truths. I know that there's value in that. I believe there's value in that. And at the same time, I know that every time we go back a draft pick or two and we fall back in the draft, it's killing us because we don't have a quarterback and there's not enough quarterbacks in this draft. And if we trade up, we're going to have to give away a lot of that trade capital I was really excited about using to help build this roster. You see what? So that's my conflict. That's where I'm torn.
I'm with you. And I wanted to pull this comment up from Jerome that got us started today saying that the Jets beat three bad teams on their backup quarterbacks, and Jet fans are ready to start the circle jerk. Can we wait until they face a quality opponent? And that kind of ties into this conversation of do these wins matter or not? And what's your reaction to this?
I mean, I'm okay. First, I don't know what it means, circle jerk. Are we saying that it means we're jumping around saying we're good? Because I don't think it's, I don't, I mean, maybe there are Jet fans that believe that. I mean, I know that the part of me that was a little happy when they won wasn't about me believing we were good or saying, oh, it was about we were the first, we were the last team to get a win. We were 0-7, and there was question that we were the worst team in the NFL. And now we're playing the other worst teams in the NFL. And if we beat some of them, it doesn't mean we're a playoff team or a really good team, but at least at that level, it means we're better than those teams for the moment, right? And we're playing with a backup quarterback too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I know not technically for the Browns and Bengals win because Justin Fields was quarterbacking, but for this most recent one, the Jets are playing with Tyrod Taylor, who's a journeyman backup quarterback, and they were playing with Justin Fields, who's on his third team in 3 years, and they traded
Right.
away Sauce Gardner and Quinn Williams, and they won.
Flacco is better than Justin Fields by a mile, right? The evidence is in the data and just your eyes if you watch. Tyrod Taylor is Tyrod Taylor. Does anyone really believe that that Atlanta took a step back with Kirk Cousins? I mean, the way Penix was playing.
No, I mean
Penix
Penix
is playing quite crap.
at best equal to Kirk Cousins, and you could argue that Cousins is better even at his age.
Yeah. So I mean, but I think all of it is irrelevant because no one's doing the circle jerk. I mean, at least we're not. If that means thinking that we're good, I'm just thinking that I'm seeing improvement in some elements of this team. Like people say, "Oh, what are you talking about? Teams never gave up. We never gave up." Why do people saying, "Oh, we like these guys so they don't give up"? Nonsense. Last year, you want evidence that this team hasn't given up? The last 3 years, we've given up at the end of the year. We watched this team give up multiple seasons in a row, and not in the good way because they wanted a tank. They gave up because that was the character and the culture of the locker room. That it's nice to see that culture is being expelled because these guys are playing their asses off, and also. Yeah, maybe those teams had their backup quarterback, but we traded away. Garrett Wilson is hurt. We traded away Quinn Williams and Sauce Gardner. So 3 key critical players on this team when we started the season, 3 of our biggest stars, are no longer on the team. So, yeah, I don't expect to beat really good teams, but I could still say, at least we're beating the bad ones.
Right, and does the development of AD Mitchell and John Mechie not matter into seeing like what they can be for you in the future? You had first 2 games that Mechie was here, he had the touchdowns, and I know he didn't have a great game against Atlanta, but then you have the AD Mitchell game where he has a touchdown and over 100 yards. And I think you're trying to figure out, like, are those long-term building pieces? The last episode we did, we went through the whole, roster by position group, and we're talking about we're trying to figure out who's going to be here next year. And if they're winning games in that process, so be it.
And people have a misunderstanding of what moral victories are. Picking out individual positives in players is not moral victories. People have forgot what it means. Moral victory is when you say we played really hard and the game was close, and it's like, and we overcame this, and it's like there's no moral victories in football. I get it, but that has nothing to do with saying, wow, Mechie looks good. We may have a slot corner for the future. That's not me taking a moral victory. That's me just looking at reality and truth as I think about this team moving forward. Maybe we don't have to draft a slot receiver now. Maybe we have our guy. And then AD Mitchell comes up after we talked about him and said, what's his ceiling? What's his floor? What do we got here? And then he comes and he has 8 receptions over 100 yards. So that doesn't answer the question completely, but we got 5 more games to watch this kid. How, as a Jet fan, what else should we be focused on other than excited and intrigued to look at this kid, AD Mitchell, who's only in his 2nd year, who has all the talent in the world physically, and say, does this take away the need to draft a wide receiver? Like, it doesn't mean we have to. We could still stack the wide receiver room, but does it take the gun away from our head? Do we actually have a WR2 where it's no longer a gun to our head? We actually are pretty set with 2 wide receivers on the boundary. I'm not saying we are, but certainly he's making us raise our eyebrows and wonder.
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet. And I'm sure, you're not writing it in stone that he's going to be the wide receiver 2 in 2026. But, before these guys were here, pretty much Garrett Wilson and Arian Smith were the only two guys who were saying they're going to be here next year. Tyler Johnson, probably not. Alan Lazard, definitely not. Josh Reynolds on a 1-year deal. They had a ton of work to do at the wide receiver position. And, it's started. I would argue they still need another body at receiver, but it's not, you're looking for 3 guys, a wide receiver 2, 3, and 4.
Again, and not gun to your head.
Exactly.
Like we don't know. It might be gun to your head. Like if AD Mitchell does nothing the rest of the year and drops some more passes, it might be, he's definitely not the guy. We're still learning if he's the guy, but it's just about which box we've checked. If it's like suddenly he's just crushing it the rest of the year and he looks amazing, and then maybe we could sit there and say, yeah, it's a luxury to pick another great receiver. And it's a need to pick one in like the 2nd round or the 4th round or the 5th. You know what I mean? Like how big is the need, I guess, is what I'm saying. How big is the need? Is it gun to your head? We absolutely should not go into next season without another receiver. The room is ridiculous. Or is there a chance we actually have our WR1, WR2, and our slot, and now we're looking to fill the room?
Right. So we'll see how much they need to add there in the offseason. But while we're on the topic of the offseason, I wanted to get into the main bread and butter of what we're going to be talking about today, which is a rumor that was circulating. U Stadium had this tweeted out. A few notes from a conversation with a draft source. Contrary to recent reports, this person is hearing that Oregon quarterback Dante Moore is leaning towards entering the draft in 2026. Follows it up by saying, also said the Jets have already begun exploring trade-up scenarios into the top few picks to secure a quarterback. Now, obviously these are just rumors. We don't know this to be 100% factual. I don't think U Stadium is making that up. I don't think they have a reason to make that up.
Well, the second part they're making up. You really believe the Jets let that kind of information out, that they're looking to trade up?
The looking to trade.
I don't even know what pick they have yet. Like, how are we talking about?
No, I think it's more about doing that, and that part. Yes, I agree with you there. But more like doing the work on these quarterbacks and seeing who's potentially interested in moving out, and that I think that'd be more secure in after the season's over and the draft order is already set.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's very obvious. We all know that there's a strong possibility the Jets are going to be looking to trade up if we don't have a pick that's within range of the quarterback we like. I think that's just them posting something to be right. But I don't think they have any more information than we do. I think it's just the common sense of our situation as a team. But the first part of it is informational if there's anything to it. Like if they have any real thing to back it up, I never had a doubt that Dante Moore is going to come out. I think any quarterback that's projected to go in the top 5 is going to come out. You're not going to stay in school if you're projected to go in the top 5, in my opinion. I don't think most would.
Yeah, and I was going to say, as Jeff fans, I think we should be rooting for Dante Moore to come out of school. One, because that likely adds 3 quarterbacks towards the top of the draft. And whether the Jets are targeting one of those 3 quarterbacks or if they, aren't trading up, that means a better player is going to fall to you, assuming that Dante Moore is going to be a top 5 pick, which I think is a pretty fair assumption.
Yeah. No, I think, we got to see how the playoffs go because a lot of things change there. And then you got the interviews and you got, we also have the fall of Shedeur Sanders because of the interviews and the combines, right? So things do change. But I think right now where we're sitting right now, and, if you, you read all the things and all the draft experts and all the guides and all the fans and all the everything, it feels to me like Dante Moore is going to be a top 5 pick. I'm getting the sense there's an urgency building. I could be wrong, but my gut feel is that Dante Moore, Ty Simpson, and Fernando are going to be drafted, the 3 of them, with the first 4 picks, if not 1, 2, 3.
Right. And it all depends. And you brought up a good point earlier by bringing this up, but we don't know what the draft order is yet. But there are teams, who have the top 2 picks that, have a quarterback in place. Cam Ward, who's a rookie quarterback. I don't think they're going to move off of him after just 1 year. And the Giants with the number 2 pick have Jackson Dart. So those are 2 teams that could be looking to trade out. And I think there's definitely question marks with the other teams in front of the Jets right now. New Orleans, they're starting Tyler Shuck, so I guess it depends on how he finishes the year. Cleveland, kind of same thing with Shador, but both those teams, depending on how their guys play, could be looking for a quarterback. I think Vegas at 4, that feels like a lock to draft a quarterback, right?
How could they not?
Right. Like Gino's been pretty rough this year. I think if you're picking that high, they seem like an obvious candidate. Washington, they have Jaden Daniels, and then you have the Jets. So there are other teams like I just listed out, but we don't know how many of them are going to actually be looking to take a quarterback because, as you said, there's still 5 more games to go, and I'm not betting the farm on it, but maybe Tyler Shuck just balls out and they're like, this is going to be our guy. We'll give him another year. And maybe Shador Sanders looks great and you're going, okay, we're going to give it another year with Shador.
Yeah, Shuck is not playing horribly. So it's a possibility New Orleans wants to see what they have in him. They guaranteed the 4 years. They took him in the second round. Yeah, I agree. I don't think, because I think Cleveland's going to be drafting a quarterback. If you've watched these 2 games with Sanders,
I agree.
But I mean, it's respectful to the player to like, well, he has 5 more games, so let's hold back judgment, right? I think that one of the things is I know we have the most draft capital. We have the most money. Let's say draft capital is money. We have the most assets to trade up to outbid other people from the draft capital sense. What we can't predict is, let's say we're picking at 6 right now, the way it is right now, and somebody wants to trade up with the Giants, for example, right? That's at 4, like Cleveland or something like that. And they want to trade up just to make sure to stop us from doing it because they want to grab the quarterback. Even though they don't have as much draft capital, there's another element we didn't talk about last week in the last couple of weeks. The Giants might have a player they do want. Like, what if they love Avril Reese? What if they see him as the new Lawrence Taylor, right? In their minds, like this is going to be the new needle-moving Hall of Fame linebacker that's going to turn our franchise around again, right? And I'm not saying that's the case. I'm saying, what if? If that's the case, they might say, we're not trading with the Jets. We don't care what you give us. Our goal is we want to get some draft capital, and we need to get this player. They might say, we're happy with what Cleveland's going to offer us and be able to offer us and still be able to get this player we love versus risk losing the player, even though the Jets are offering more capital. So that's going to be the hard thing to predict. We don't know what the price is going to be. And the more we slip down in the draft, the more it might make a team wary and not wanting to trade with us.
Yeah, moving back that far, right?
Yeah.
Tennessee going from 1 to 7 is a lot different than going from 1 to 4.
Right. If they love a player, there might be a player, not a positional player they absolutely love.
And that's interesting. That's the stuff that excites me around the draft. It's really fun to nerd out and get into it and see the strategy behind it all. Dante chimes in with the super chat. Thank you for the support. Says, if the quarterback hasn't started for a while in college, the Jets should not draft that quarterback. The best quarterbacks in the league have many starts in college as a starter. So both Dante Moore and Ty Simpson would kind of fit that bill. Fernando Mendoza is the only one with multiple years as a starter. I mostly agree with this, but there are outliers, like Cam Newton only had that 1 year as a starter. I believe Kyler Murray really was pretty much only the starting quarterback his final year in Oklahoma. So there's examples of guys, who had very limited starts come into league and have success. But I understand where Dante's coming from on this.
I agree with Dante up to the point of saying like that I would cross them off the list. But like I don't do that anymore. When I rank the quarterback, I consider things. And one of the things that I do consider is how many games, how much evidence is on film. How much evidence is that this quarterback can succeed in the NFL? Not that my system is better than anyone else's. Anybody who says that they're great at this and that they're right all the time about quarterbacks is lying to you. Nobody is.
Yeah, there is no perfect formula for it, which is the hard part about evaluating quarterbacks, right?
No one's figured it out. I mean, you could say the Green Bay's organization, you can make an argument, but they've had different people making those decisions over those years. It wasn't one person. I guess you could make some examples of some teams that managed to pull this off that, Baltimore went from Flacco to Lamar. But for the most part, teams, this is a puzzle.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. It absolutely is. Let's keep it rolling with Jake Asman, friend of the show, says, I want to hobnob with a franchise quarterback this offseason. Wouldn't that be nice, Jeremy? And a franchise quarterback for the New York
Jake
Jets?
is such a good hobnobber. I'll tell you the best part about Jake. Jake in his suit, running to the dance floor, excited when certain songs came on, and dragging me with him.
Oh, I loved it. That was the best. Seeing him out there. There was a question in here from Ethan saying, how many starts did Burrow have? He started as a junior at LSU, but then had his next year, the senior year at LSU, is when he really broke out. So he had 28 starts.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't have to be black and white and so extreme. Like, he only started one season, you undraftable, or it doesn't matter at all. You're allowed to be in the middle and say that impacts how I rank the quarterback. Like, it might have some impact on how I rank them, but that doesn't make them undraftable. It's a little bit more of a concern. Like when you do the pros and the cons. For some people, you might check off a con, like a negative check, for they don't have as many starts as other guys, right? But it doesn't mean, and a good argument to support that it is a negative is there's a bunch of quarterbacks that began this college season as we thought they were going to be top 10 picks. Kid from Clemson, a lot of people had him ranked.
Yeah.
People had Klubnik ranked as, I saw someone rank him as 1, right? There were people that had him ranked in the top 5, easy. Drew Aller last year, for half of the first part of last season, before even we knew if he was coming out in the draft, people had him as a top 10 pick. So the fact that these guys played more and we saw more of them play changed their rankings and changed the opinion of them. So it is fair to say that if a guy's only played 1 year, if you see him play more in college, you may actually go the other direction and change your mind about a guy. And it might go the wrong way for the player. So to me, there's a lot of legitimacy in having that concern. I wouldn't say that makes them undraftable, but being concerned that they've only had 1 year of starting, I believe, is legitimate.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense. There's another one in here that I wanted to pull up. It was from J-Boy saying, did he just say Murray had success in the NFL? Yes, I did. His first 3 years in the league, I thought he was pretty good. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year and went to 2 Pro Bowls. He's been injured and has been ineffective this year. But I would classify an Offensive Rookie of the Year as having success.
He's not my dream quarterback. Like obviously, if we pick a quarterback, I want him to end up being better than Kyle Murray has been. I'm not the hugest fan of Kyle Murray, but at the same time, let's be honest. When's the last time we've drafted and had a quarterback play out a contract, his first year contract, that's better than Kyle Murray?
Chad Pennington?
Right, who got hurt.
Yeah,
right.
Who got hurt, but like it's you're going back 20 plus years.
We have to go back to Chad Pennington. So, we could sit there and say we all want better than Kyle Murray. We all want what Drake May is doing, right? We all want a star. But at the same time, realistically, I mean, if you get a guy that's at the level of Kyle Murray, that's not a guy that's going to make you a perennial winner or carry you on your shoulders or give us the dream. But it's certainly a guy that if you put an amazing roster around him, gives you a chance. Because when you watch, this team the last 4 years, we've been saying, man, if we had any kind of quarterback play, like we didn't need a star. If we had, those years get with Wilson, with Zach Wilson, when we had the top 3 defense in the NFL, we didn't need a Tom Brady. We just needed a competent quarterback.
Yeah, average.
Like Kyle Murray on the Jets in 23, I would love to see what that team could have done. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not guaranteeing it, but I would have loved to see it.
They would have been better than 7-10. I think that's probably a fair estimate. I don't know if they're winning a Super Bowl, but
we had a top 3 defense in the NFL, and we had complete incompetency at quarterback, right? We had Zach Wilson at quarterback. Now, you compare Zach Wilson to Kyle Murray. If you took that much of a jump, he's not a superstar, Kyle Murray, but if you went from Zach Wilson to Kyle Murray, how would we have done that year? I mean, our defense was holding teams to under 20 points every game.
Right, and they were losing games 16-13.
Right, because we had complete incompetency at quarterback. So I'm not saying I want to draft a quarterback that's Kyle Murray level, But I'm saying it's also kind of ambitious to sit there and expect. It's not often you do better, is what I'm saying. Statistically, it's really hard to do better than him. Proven by the fact that we haven't done it since Chad Bennington.
Yes. Peter S. chimes in, and we'll get to a couple more super chats. Says, I understand we all want to focus on quarterback, but we're going to need to add decent/quality free agents first and fill as many holes as possible to build around whomever they get. So this is a interesting one. I know last week we spent some time on talking about Tyler Linderbaum, but do you have not even necessarily like it has to, I'm asking you for individual players, but just the free agency plan? Are there positions that you're looking for or goals that you have for free agency?
I think Tyler Linderbaum was an exception, but there might be others like similar. Like if you told me, what if a name popped up of a really great safety who's about to start his second contract, and for some reason the team is, their cap is extended, that's the guy they're going to let loose. Every team has to make decisions, and let's say that's the one they're going to let go and get away because they have to, right? They just don't have the cap, and somebody's got to go. We can't sign everybody kind of situation. Just like Lindenbaum, I realized after we had, we talked, had that, last week's show, that there might be others that emerge that we would feel that way about. But it's very few. The only free agents I'd be interested in spending any real money on is they're 26, 25, like still very young, just finished their first contract. And really, really good with a long road ahead of them to be here for the full time. But I think with all of our draft picks and everything, I don't think the team, and I don't blame them, is looking too heavily into free agency. I think that maybe there'll be one key move. Like I would love it to be Lindenbaum, like one key move, but we're not going to be making a big splash in free agency this offseason.
No, I think there might be one or two guys that they spend decent money on, but I think the rest is going to be, like trying to retain Breece Hall and the offensive lineman. You make your decision at guard. Maybe you bring back Josh Myers if you don't sign a Tyler Linderbaum, and moving some things around the roster and adding your depth. We're not saying completely ignore free agency. I just don't think we're going to see a 2019 Mike McCagnon spending spree.
Right. We're not coming out like shoppers. Now in 2027, very different discussion, right? Like we don't know we'll see what happens then. Depends on next year's progress, how we look. Then the 2027 draft, we draft all these guys. We'll see how that free agency goes. Like, are we making the big move? Because there's going to be a year, whether it's 27 or 28, where we have all our draft picks in place. Hopefully we've improved a lot. We're winning, we're a playoff contending team, and we have this salary cap space, and we're going to be shoppers looking to, I don't know, stir the drink.
Yeah.
Looking for the straw, looking for the cream, the cherry on top of the sundae. Like there's going to be a time sometime in the next, not next year, but within 2 years after that we're going to be a big shopper in free agency for sure. And now I think it's going to be just normal free agency,
No, I get that. Totally get that.
Yeah.
Dante's back with the super chat, says multiple starts matter to me, talking about the quarterback, because with the Jets, I think a quarterback who comes in as pro ready as possible is the smarter bet. And I think that's totally fair.
All of it, any team, not just the Jets, any team.
But the Jets kind of go on the opposite side with it. With their last two picks with Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold, I feel like they bet on the guy with the traits and not necessarily the guy with the highest floor. And maybe that's the approach that they take this time. And to me, that's Mendoza in this class. And I think that's kind of what Dante's trying to say here. And I know you feel pretty strongly about it.
Well, everybody knows I want Mendoza, and not only because of the experience. I mean, that's a nice argument. It's a nice thing to add to his allure. But like for me, Mendoza also is just clearly better. Like as far as, and I say that, people saying, how could you say that? Look at the stats and the box score. I don't care about any of that. I'm talking about better pick for me, better prospect, because he's the only one that he looks like he's in the most realistic NFL type system, in the sense that what are we asking a quarterback to do in the NFL, right? What's the key thing? Well, we're asking him to be able to forget about mobility is great, but number one, we're asking him to be able to drop back, go through progressions, and run an NFL offense. Well, if you look at the prospects that we're all talking about right now, nobody is in a situation most similar to that right now than Mendoza. Because Mendoza is the only one that's actually dropping back and going through progressions. That's not to knock the other guys. They're in systems that are simply defined systems that we all know. It doesn't mean they won't be great NFL quarterbacks, but again, it's harder to judge and rate them when they're in an offense where they're just dropping back and it's one read and dump.
Right. And that I think is important to getting it to translate at the next level, obviously. Jason Edwards, thank you for the member chat. 32 months as a member, says happy hump day, fellas. Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati is someone I'm looking at in the second round. Thoughts? Obviously from Cincinnati, 6'3", 230 pounds, kind of labeled as like a dual threat guy. I think is, pretty athletic. Do you say, I'll phrase it to you this way. I don't know how much work you've done on Sorsby so far.
A little bit lately.
A little. So do you like him? How do you feel about him?
I feel better. If someone said, I think it's a tie right now. If you said Jets take Ty Simpson, but let's say we end up with the 4th, 5th pick and we take Ty Simpson or Sorsby in the second round, I think I'm about equal on that. Like, in other words, I don't have Sorsby above Ty Simpson, but when you talk about value and the risk and what you're giving up, I kind of think that I'd be just as happy with grabbing him in the second round than I would be grabbing a guy like Dante Moore or Ty Simpson in the first round.
Now, I was going to ask you, like, if the Jets, let's say they're picking 7th right now, let's say that's where they end up, and Mendoza, Moore, and Simpson, they all go in the top 5. Are you okay with them just like completely foregoing quarterback in the first round, but still taking someone on day 2, like a Sorsby or like a Dorian Mensah?
Yes, because you could just like New Orleans Saints might do. You can then still draft next year. If I mean, what else are we supposed to do? If teams refuse to trade up with us because they have a guy they love and they're refusing to drop that far back, if that happens, if we get shut out of those 3 quarterbacks, if that happens, I would love for them to take Sorsby. I would love it. I would even go for, if he slips that far, I don't believe it's going to happen. I believe by the time we get through the combines and all of that stuff, I believe Drew Aller will come back into the picture and he'll be a guy that goes in the 2nd or 3rd round as well. But if for some freak reason he stays in the middle of nowhere and he's a forgotten name and the Jets took this guy Sorsby and then in the 4th round took Drew Aller just as a dart throw, and that's not me saying Drew Aller is going to be a great quarterback or a good quarterback, but in the 4th round, like a guy with that arm, that size, that, like, why wouldn't you, right? Like, throw a couple of darts. If it doesn't work out in 27, then we have no choice. We have to get the quarterback. But no, I am definitely never in favor of using a 1st round pick on a quarterback the team is settling for and doesn't truly believe in. If they love Dante Moore, grab him. If they love Simpson, grab him. If they love Mendoza, grab them. If the guys you love are gone and the guy that's left you don't love, you do not grab him.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good way to look at it. James is in with a super chat, says hypotheticals are easy. Look at Aller and Beck. They were top guys and aren't anymore. Pick who you know. Travis was a 2nd rounder before the knee. So essentially, saying, look, those guys went back to school. Aller's stock, I think, was definitely higher last year than where it is now. Beck, I don't really know how much his has changed. I don't think he would have went very high based off the season he had last year to close at Georgia. And Jordan Travis, the injury really knocked him out. So for someone like Dante Moore, who we both kind of feel if he did come out, he'd be a top 5 pick, it might make sense for him to do that.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm not saying our solution should be throwing darts like someone in the chat is saying. I'm saying 2nd round pick on Sorsby is not throwing a dart. It's because if they like him, 2nd round pick is a real pick. That's a real asset. Right? If they were to use a 2nd round pick on him, it's because they believe he could be good. 4th round pick, you absolutely, if you like it, you could absolutely throw a dart on a 4th round because of the position. You absolutely could on a 4th round pick throw a dart. Absolutely. If you saw something in him, hey, we used to like that kid. He fell off a little bit, but there was some things and qualities about him. We're going to take a shot, have him as an insurance policy. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? Why would there be anything wrong with that? But as your main strategy, no, the main strategy is if we love one of the top 3 quarterbacks, the strategy is to find a way to get them. That's the strategy. But if you love Sornsby and you're picking at 35, the 35th pick in the second round, and Sornsby's there and you love him, that's not throwing a dart. That's just taking a guy that's not ranked as high as the other guys. How many times have we seen the 5th or 6th ranked quarterback in a draft end up being the best one?
Yeah, I mean, Lamar Jackson was the last pick of the first round. There's an example. Josh Allen, I think, was the
Fourth.
fourth quarterback taken.
Was the 4th quarterback taken.
Yeah, so it doesn't, always work out that the number one guy is the number one guy in the class. Like I would say right now, Drake May looks like the best of that quarterback class from a year ago. He was the 3rd quarterback taken. Now, granted, he went 3rd overall. It was quarterbacks 1, 2, 3 right in a row. But it's, it's not always the top guy. And look,
they're rarely right.
Yeah,
they're rarely right. Like usually when you have like a handful of 4 or 5 guys, the guy that the experts that the world picks as the number one and like ends up going first, most of the time is beat out by someone in the rest of the field. And that makes sense. Rest of the field versus the one. Statistically, rest of the field
numbers game, right?
Yeah.
We got one from Lycan says, how would you guys feel about trading for a veteran safety like Mika? Don't think it cost much, or Jesse Bates or even Derwin James, probably a little bit more costly. I think I'd rather go the free agency route, which is something that we were talking a little bit about before. For example, the Cameron Curl from the Rams is a free agent. He's 26 years old, would be getting his 2nd contract, kind of a thing. I don't know. Is there really a safety that stands out that much where you'd want to trade something for a guy like that?
I don't like trading guys you also have to pay. Okay. I like being the team that is on the opposite side of that. I like being the team that got the 1st round picks and said, here's your $30 million guy. Thank you and have a nice day. But because free agency, it's the money. You pay the guy. Okay, fine. But trading for a guy that it's like double pay. You have to use up draft capital and you have to pay them. It's automatically a format that puts you at a disadvantage, right? Like against teams that draft well. You have teams that draft well and their cost is their draft pick. And then they get 4 or 5 years out of the guy and then they pay them. If you get a guy out of free agency, that's the second best way to do it because you're not trading. You're not giving up any asset. You're just paying a guy. And if he's really good and you pay the right guy, it ends up being a good thing. The worst way that you want to do, I'm not saying it never works out, but the worst way to build a team is trading and paying because you're only going to get half as much that way because you're not filling up roster spots with draft picks that are cheap. You're trading your draft assets and you're only getting in guys that cost money. And then you don't have draft picks anymore. So how are you going to get your good value guys that come out of a draft?
That's tough. Unless we're talking about one of their like 6th round picks, which they have a million of. That's obviously a different conversation. But I think you'd have to give up more than a 6th round pick for any of the guys that are listed here.
I almost feel like you could take as many 6th round picks as you want. Yeah, I'm talking about like a 2nd round pick, like trading real capital. If somebody usually though, if it's a high money guy, they're going to want more than the 6th round pick, but maybe not. Maybe they want to dump the salary.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a world where you can get a good player who's just kind of a cap casualty, that makes sense. But I don't know if one of these guys listed it fits that description necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm also thinking any player that we acquire that we give up capital for. I'm thinking more long term, and I know that's a sad, horrible thing to say. It's just that I don't expect to be that competitive. Maybe 27 could be playoffs. I mean, obviously, there's always the outside dream and roll of dice that it could happen in 26. You draft a quarterback, he has a great rookie year, a lot of excitement, and suddenly we're a playoff team. Great. But realistically thinking, this is a rebuild. And I want the guys we bring in, I want to know are going to be here 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, because I would like to build a sustained winner. The only exception to that kind of feeling is if let's say we didn't have 2 good young tackles and you drafted a rookie quarterback. I'm okay bringing in an old veteran for 1 or 2 years for that quarterback to help protect them. So there are exceptions to what I'm.
Of
the lot
course.
that I'm dishing out, you know?
Of course. Dante's back with another one. Says, I'm sick of the quarterback draft analysis. They hyped up 2025. Now it's next year already. Exhausting. Connor Rogers is the only one that I trust. I like Connor Rogers. I think he does a great job. Dom
Yeah,
C, another one of my favorite draft guys.
yeah.
But it does get tiresome, right? In the wait till next year conversations.
It's tiresome, and it's like, this is the year, that's not the year, and the truth is you never know what the year is gonna be, like, when someone's gonna come out, right, and be good and explode. Tom Brady, you know, you could give those little examples of guys that nobody even knew who they were, like arguably the greatest of all time, you know, and Tom Brady. But yeah, I mean, I don't trust it. I don't even trust myself. You know, I watch so much tape. I trust myself a lot more now with offensive line and Dom C. I trust Dom C with offensive line and myself way more than I trust quarterback analysis, because I know Dom C puts the hours into that too. But I guarantee you, his statistics of being wrong and right about quarterbacks is not going to be any better than mine or anybody else that's going after, you know, Connor Rogers or going on a website. Because the reality is, it's with quarterback, I don't know if anybody's really figured out the formula, because I don't know of anybody publicly in the world that puts out their predictions and their rankings year after year that are consistently right. And if they were, they would have a job for one of these NFL organizations making a lot of money.
Yeah. And even the guys who are paid the top dollars and in the number one share have their fair share of misses too. So
I mean, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, like, if everybody would have ranked the top 5 quarterbacks from last year in order of how good they were, and then we wait 3 more years to make a determination, how many people do you think are going to have all 5 right in the right order? There might be some people that were better than others, but right? But then if you go the next 5 years, will it be the same people that got it right that get it right again? Like, I don't even know. It's such a crapshoot that
no, it is.
I do it out of interest. I watch the quarterbacks. I watch the all 22, all January, college football, and I make my own opinions knowing that they're meaningless opinions. Now, I've learned that over the last 2 years.
I like this one from Isaiah saying, I like the USC quarterback a lot, especially if you only need to get him for a second round pick. And Arch potentially could be a dark horse to come out. I don't, on the second part of that, I don't think Arch Manning is going to come out this year. I am pretty confident he's going to go back to school next year. But while on the conversation of the day 2 quarterbacks, we've talked about Darian Mensah, we talked about Sorsby before. Mayav is, I think, the guy that I like on day 2. He has that like prototypical quarterback frame, 6'4", 230, good touchdown to interception ratio, pretty high completion percentage. That I don't like him as much as I like, you know, Mendoza or Simpson. But if we aren't in a position to draft one of those guys in April, and you want to take that day 2 swing, I think that would be my player personally.
Who's that?
Jaden Mayava out of USC.
Oh, Mayava. Oh, you're talking about the comment. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched a little bit of him, and it wasn't great, you know, but they were overmatched. They were playing a much better team. But it didn't give me the best impression of him. But I know that he's had other really good games and people really like him, and he's young. So, you know, if they did it, I would just trust them. That's the thing. Like, if I don't look at lots of tape, if I get to him in January and if he's going to come out, and obviously I'll invest some time. But like at the end of the day, I don't know what else to do, but just, you have to trust the organization you're a fan of. I mean, I don't really trust them, but I shrug my shoulders and say, okay, like, if they like him, you know, like we don't know Moogs yet as far as quarterback. We know that they didn't pick a very good one out of free agency to be the bridge quarterback.
That's true.
You know, they didn't pick a very good one, but I'm not going to confuse that with prospecting a college quarterback too much. That's a different thing.
Totally different thing and totally different game. Ablabs in says the quarterbacks from Duke, USC, and UCLA could be good as late second round picks. So that's Mensah, Mayava, and I always butcher the name. I'm Aliva from UCLA.
Very impressive how you just store all this information in your head, man. Yeah, man. I second round picks on quarterback, if you know, and assuming that means they really like the quarterback, are hard to argue. And you hope for the best, you know. But people shouldn't discount it and say there's no way that second round pick quarterback could be good. The people have got to stop doing that. It's just not true. Sometimes teams find their quarterback in the second round. So it just happens.
I got to pull this one up because it's a pet peeve of mine. Tab says it. There's others in the chat saying it. No more USC quarterbacks. I hate the scouting of the helmet. They going, oh, this guy went to this school. You can't possibly take him. Or the Jets tried to take, that position or a player from that school at the same position. It didn't work out. Every single prospect is different.
Well, I think especially when the systems have changed over the years. Like USC, are they playing the same system that they were back,
No.
So what you're right. So I mean, when the system is different, you really can't. When the system's the same, it doesn't make me say you can't draft a guy. It makes me say you have to, like if I'm gonna like a guy from Oregon, I have to do more than look at his box score. Because I know that whoever plays quarterback for Oregon, their box score is gonna look good.
That's
unless
true.
they suck. Right. So you have to watch and you have to say, well, how are they doing it? Right. So but when you go back with USC and say how many years are we going back to make that decision and say, is it even the same coaching staff? Like what?
No, it's not. It's Lincoln Riley, who everyone loved because he was
Right.
producing quarterbacks at Oklahoma. But now that he's at USC and the Jets missed on 2 USC quarterbacks, we can't have a conversation about the current USC quarterback.
Right. So it would make more sense to make a judgment on how have Oklahoma quarterbacks been going into the NFL. That would make more sense, if any sense, than caring about the USC helmet then, right? It's like, look at the other quarterbacks that have been drafted out of that system or from out of that coach. And that might be something that you want to be wary of.
How about this one from Carlos? Joey B going to be a Jet. Joe Burrow? I don't see that one. I don't think he shakes loose in Cincinnati.
I mean, like we love to say it, and as much of a dream as it would be, you have to understand everyone else in the NFL laughs at Jet fans when we talk about it, saying like these people are on some serious drugs. Like, why in the world do you think Cincinnati is looking to get rid of Joe Burrow? Like Jeff Burrows?
Why would Burrow want to come here?
Yeah, like they think we're on drugs when we talk about stuff like that.
And I loved Burrow. Like, I think he's an awesome quarterback. No doubt top 5 quarterback in the NFL for me, obviously. Would be a historically great Jet. I don't think it's likely. They would have to give up a ton to get him. It's a pipe dream.
Yeah.
Ablab's back with another one. Muji, an ex-quarterback who has done good evaluating free agency and the draft talent, has my trust moving forward for the upcoming draft. That's an interesting point that I haven't considered. Do you put any additional stock in Muji because he's a former quarterback when evaluating the quarterbacks?
And maybe there's more interest in it. I put more stock in Dom C's evaluation of offensive linemen because he was an offensive lineman. And I think that his hit rate, I've never done a statistical analysis. I feel Dom C has been the most accurate at that position. So I guess my trust in Muji is building just because it's like, you always wonder, well, he was with Denver all those years. How much did he have to do with the good decisions? How much did he have to do with the bad decisions? Right now, it's looking like overall, we may have gotten the right guy. If you're going to pluck somebody out of an organization, we may have gotten the right guy here because there's a lot of talent filling this roster. It might not be superstar talent, but real talent that's coming from nothing.
I mean, look at all the throw-in trades that he did with Mitchell and Mechie and Harrison Phillips and Jarvis Brownlee and Juwan Briggs.
It just goes on. And these just is nothing. We could list so many guys. And are they superstars? No, maybe not. But are they like guys that you can like for depth or role players? Like I could see Briggs and Phillips being part of our rotation next year and being valued parts of that defensive tackle rotation. AZ Mitchell might be our WR2, right? He might be. We don't know that he's not. And Mechie might be our starting slot. And we'll see. We don't know. I'm not saying any of it is factual, but I'm saying is all of this possibility is there. And with Brownlee too, you have to like what we're seeing. And then the draft wasn't bad. He picked the best offensive tackle in the draft, unarguably, so far, in Membo. He picked a really good, solid tight end that does everything: blocks, catches, passes, really reliable hands, kind of like in Mason Taylor. He has a cornerback who's drafted in the 3rd round that is already starting now to fill in for Sauce Gardner, right? Like who left. and is not playing terribly. Third round cornerback playing his rookie year, not superstar, but he's not playing terribly. And we know in that position, if you follow football and you're a football fan, that's one of the positions, specifically cornerback, that you do get a lot better through experience in the NFL.
Correct. Usually it's very rare. And going back to the Sauce Gardner pick in 2022, it was that rare to see someone that good right away coming into the league, even as the 4th overall pick, let alone a 3rd round pick.
Right. Look at Derek Stingley's career, like, and how
Yeah,
he's blossomed now, right? Like, and it wasn't immediate. Everyone thought, oh, they're so stupid. The Sauce Gardner's so much better. And now look at Derek Stingley, right? And he had the injury issues. I get it, but the thing is you can't. It's hard to judge these too soon. But just the fact that he's in that game starting, AZ Thomas, and if you look at the PFF scores and you look at it with your eyes, although he's clearly making some rookie mistakes, he's also not terrible, and he's holding his own, and he's even had some good games.
What do you think of this comment from Craig? It's a little off topic, but you have 6 games left, or it's 5 now, but throw Brady Cook out there and see what you have. He either balls out, and if you win, it doesn't matter, and if he helps, or if you lose, it helps your draft position.
We always love everybody. That's Jeff fans, man. We always love the backup quarterback that we've never seen play. Right? It never fails. It's always the guy we want to see. Now, as far as wanting to see what he has, I don't know. Maybe they already see what he has. It's not like they're not on a field with him practicing all the time. It's not like he's not on the scout team playing all the time. Maybe they don't like it. I'm not saying that for sure because we don't. AG said they have a plan for him, and we don't know what that is. But I think that the problem with throwing him out there too soon, because I totally agree with this week 16, 17, the last couple of games. I totally agree with this. The problem with throwing him out there now is if he is terrible, you don't get to evaluate the other players.
That's the tough part. And he might just not be ready. I don't think it's crazy to say a UDFA quarterback in year 1 might not be ready for NFL snaps. 13 games into his career. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. And Tyrod's been fine. I understand, Tyrod's 36 and he's not, going to be your quarterback the next 5 years, but he's been fine since taking over for the starting quarterback role.
Yeah.
We got a kicker comment. Draft Kensai Metzawa, the Tokyo Toe in round 6. I like the nickname. Tokyo Toe is great. In round 6 or 7, give us a kicker for the next decade. I'm starting the campaign now. Well, I mean, if you have 1 million 6th-round picks, I don't hate the idea of taking a kicker. Nick Folk's done a good job, and if he wants to come back for another year, I'm not totally against that either.
Yeah, I mean, if you decide, Nick Folk being his age, obviously at some point is going to have to be replaced. I have no problem using a 6th-round pick on a kicker if you love him. And we know Tigo I did a mock draft where I was so bored of the 6th-round picks that I just drafted 4 kickers in a row at the end, and Tigo loved it. So we know Tigo's not bored with it. Look, I guess if you fall in love with a guy and you believe he's going to be like the next Jason Elam, knock yourself out.
But also, doesn't Banjo get the benefit of the doubt with the year that he's had too in making that decision?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much I would never argue 6th-round. I mean, we did as Jet fans argue day 3 last year, with the guys from Miami. But I don't know why though. It's did any of us really have any better answers last year with those picks when they picked those guys? No. I know everybody everybody I prospected was off the board pretty much. So I was I couldn't really complain. But I don't know. I think that it's early to trust them, but so far they've done nothing to lose my trust as far as drafting overall. Their overall drafting and the overall trades and the overall signing of players. It's never going to be perfect. I can't stand when Jet fans pull out the bad thing. It's never going to be perfect. You have to look at the big picture. Every GM that builds a football team, if you look at them over a certain amount of time, made mistakes. made bad judgments, things that they would do a different way. But at the end of the day, what has Mooj done to lose my confidence? He hasn't done anything that's made me lose faith in him.
No, my biggest critique is I didn't like his day 3 in the draft outside of Malachi Moore. But like that, in the grand scheme of things, is a little nitpicky in year 1, fully admitting that. But I think since then he's had a very good summer and trades, right? Like realizing, hey, our interior defensive line stinks. Let me go and trade for 2 guys. And Phillips and Briggs have played well for you. And you reshape the wide receiver room at the trade deadline in some deals. I have no issue.
Yeah. I mean, he's just doing a good job. And we're going to have our opinions. And, and before when I was a kid, before we had the internet and all this stuff, and it was just some of us looking at magazines and you had guys like Rusty Spooner, you had a few of those just running around the streets yelling, this guy's good, because they actually watch college football. For the most part, people didn't know. They knew the top guys. They knew the top guys that they were famous on TV every week, right? Like Dan Marino, the Jet fans, Danny. But you did after the first round, once you went 30 players in, it was gone, man. It was like, who are these guys? You're looking, because the only access you even had was magazines, unless you were a big college football fan. But even back then, if you were a college football fan, how many games did you have access to?
Right. It's not, you don't have ESPN
you
Plus.
You were watching only a few games. So now that we know and we're watching all these players and developing all of our opinions, we're screaming and getting angry. Fifth, sixth, seventh round, come on. You're going to get angry because they pick a guy you didn't know? Because most of it, they're like, because even the guys we got angry about that, and I laugh at myself too, it's not like I knew who they were. I was mad because I didn't know who they were. That doesn't mean they're bad. Maybe they found, so it's silly. It's silly. We should, how about we just, I hate grading drafts the day after the draft. I think this is the dumbest thing in the world. As a matter of fact, I think the most accurate way to grade a draft, if you really wanted to be accurate and honest and real about it, if you were patient enough, is wait 5 years. Let's look at the draft from 5 years ago, and I think we can honestly and fairly grade that draft.
I don't think we want to look at the 2020 Jets draft right now.
I mean, you could get a sense. You could get a sense for drafts year by year. Obviously, you could get a sense for it. Membu's amazing, so we know that this is probably going to, at worst, once hitting on the first pick and hitting on a guy who might be like an all-pro tackle his whole career right away stops it from being a totally disastrous draft. But to really give a thorough grading system from first round through the 7th round, you'd have to wait a while. And right? I mean, because sometimes it takes a little bit longer to know.
Yeah, it definitely does. And
there's some people who don't know on Justin Fields, right? Tons of them out there that still don't know. They're still insisting right situation would be good. And there are some that will he could suck for 3 more teams, end up out of the league in 5 years, never did anything, and there will people be blaming the Bears and the Jets and all the systems, and it'll be that it was never his fault and it was everybody else's fault.
That's how it goes. You got ride or dies for just about everybody, and especially on quarterbacks. It's such a hot button one. All right, we've reached the end of our hour here live. Jets Dolphins this week. Any thoughts on that before we close it?
I'm going to be torn. I want to see the players play well. I want to see A.D. Mitchell be a stud so I could say, oh, my God, we have a real WR2. Not only WR2, but he's like really, really good. I want that to happen. But at the same time, I hate winning and watching our draft picks just go down, 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 down. So I don't know. I'm going to be torn. I'll be with Green Bean reacting to the game. I'm going to want to see them play well. If it's like some weird fumble they can end up losing, I think that would be nice. And then I'm going to be rooting really hard for whoever's playing the Colts.
Yeah, there we go. Jacksonville this week. So big
game.
Jacksonville,
there. Baby. I want them to win more than I want the Jets to win.
That's obviously something we got to keep a close eye on, the Colts' remaining schedule.
People don't realize that when we made that trade, the Colts were projected, that was the 30th pick in the draft. Right?
It's up to 23.
Right. And now it's like and if they somehow don't make the playoffs, it's a top 20 pick.
So that's what we're hoping for. I think the Jets will have a chance on Sunday against Miami. I don't really trust the Dolphins out in the elements in the Northeast. Although Tua has the Jets number, as the Jets have never beaten Tua, which is just a crazy stat, but we'll see on Sunday. We'll be back next week. Thank you so much for hanging out. I'm Matt. He's Jeremy, and we will catch you next time.
Gano.